guys, this is my name Messiah from St. Carlos College of Guatemala, and I'm going to talk today about open source software. Okay, let's get started. Now you may be wondering what's this open source software about. Well, I'm going to explain it very quick. Open source software is a computer software that is available in source code from the source code and certain other rights normally reserved for copyright holders. They are provided under an open source license that permits users to study, change, improve, and at times also to distribute the software. Open source software is very often developed in a public, collaborative manner. Open source software is the most prominent example of open source development and other compared to user-generated content or open content movements. Now, one of the most common question is what's the difference between open source software and free software? Now, I explained it earlier the definition about open source software. Now I'm gonna explain the definition of free software. Free software, or libre software is software that can be used, studied, and modified without restriction, and which can be copied and redistributed in modified or unmodified form either without any restriction. Well, the word free in the term free software refers to freedom or liberty and is not all related to monetary costs. The Free Software Foundation advises people to avoid using terms like giveaway or for free because those terms imply that the issue is about price and not about freedom. Free software is generally available without charge, but is not bound to such a restriction. Well, you might wonder what's the big difference between open source and free software. Well, I'm gonna explain this. This is much like in the practice of some companies to market their software as open source, but having the majority of the function as proprietary software sold at a price. So even though the main software is licensed as open source software, you will still need to pay in order to get the full functionality. So free software is not allowed to work with proprietary software, thereby eliminating the possibility of the term free software being used in a misleading manner. Well, although there are major factions in the fight for free and open source software, they are still united against the common enemy, and this common enemy is proprietary software. The specifics of each may differ drastically, but the aim of providing free and extensive software is common to both. Now I'm gonna list the main ideas of this video. Free software is open source software, but open source software may not be necessarily be free software. Now, to point 2, open source allows the coder more control over his program compared to free software. And the point 3 is that open source software can work with other proprietary software, while free software does not allow this. Now, the relationship between these softwares can be explained with this image. Basically, proprietary software and free software are completely heterogeneous, but open source software has the decision to support any of these two kind of softwares. So it's kind of all the success of a program is in the hands of open source software. Well, I hope you find this video useful, and now I will leave you with a short list of the most common or popular open source software programs. See you next time, guys.